My girlfriend shared a room with a man at a wedding. My girlfriend Emma and her friend Sarah went to a college friend's wedding yesterday. They went on Friday and are on their way back now. They were sharing a room at the hotel as it was sold out because of the wedding reception happening there. Before they went, I knew that Sarah was hoping to meet a guy there from college, Michael. She had always had a crush on him and hoping to make something happen. So yesterday I was texting with my girlfriend through the day, little checkups, and her telling me what was going on and checking on me too. She told me about Sarah and Michael hitting it off and dancing together a lot at the reception and eventually disappearing together. I knew there was other people there she knew, so it was okay, and she mentioned just hanging out with a guy called Ryan a lot. Obviously it's a wedding, and so there was music, drinking, and people to catch up with, so I didn't hassle her much, and she stopped texting me around 10:50 last night and only replied at 11:20 this morning. When I was checking on her, seeing if she was hungover, tired, she mentioned how Sarah never came back to their room, and I said that was great, room to yourself, but she said that Ryan stayed with her. He was rooming with Michael, so wasn't going to interrupt, and so stayed with her. I know she didn't have to volunteer that information, and so I know she's being honest, but I must admit it took me by surprise and I had to resist asking a lot of follow-up questions, instead trying to change the subject to Sarah and how she must be happy. But the whole thing isn't sitting well with me. She feels off on her texts, plus the timing is weird to me too, as she's usually texting me a lot if we are apart. Obviously she could be hungover and tired, so I might be letting my thoughts go to bad areas unnecessarily. So now I feel a bit uneasy. I don't know if I'm overreacting or underreacting. I don't know if I should ask more questions about sleeping arrangements or why he couldn't stay in another room. Or should I just let it go completely? Update: it is not good. When she got home I let her settle before I brought it up, and she was immediately very defensive. Took 3 questions before she blew up asking if I was accusing her and why didn't I trust her. There were a few things that were huge red flags for me. Firstly, when I tried to calm things down and saying regardless if anything happened I felt it was disrespectful to our relationship and to see it from my point of view, which she rejected. Wouldn't tell me anything about Ryan at all. Then she said Sarah would back up everything she said. Despite Sarah being gone all night, so how would she know anything? I took that to mean she already had a story in place for it. Anyway, she stormed out, probably to her parents. So no closure fully, but I'd say it's over. Like, I don't know for sure, but I am pretty sure this is a 2 + 2 = 4 situation. Don't even feel that angry, just more numb. So yeah, thanks for all the advice. Going to have a few drinks and think about why. I don't know. Comment. I would ask more questions, however I wouldn't go straight to accusations. Just ask calmly and curiously. If she reacts defensively, you may have an answer. There are a series of reasonable questions which fall short of accusation. How did those arrangements come about? What were the actual sleeping arrangements? If in the same bed, what did you both wear? How did he feel about these arrangements? What time did he go back to his room? And do it by phone, not text. She isn't an idiot and she'll understand why you are asking. That's her opportunity to get it all out in the open and offer the assurances you need. And, frankly, most people in your situation would not be happy with that arrangement. So she should expect to be asked. If she acts otherwise, that would be a concern. It's not really a reasonable solution, Imo. If I were her, I would most assuredly not be okay in sharing a room with a relative stranger just so my friend could get it on. That's odd. I also wonder whether there was any other alternative. Why did he not book another room? Why did he not find another guy to share with? And, if there was literally no other choice, I would have wanted her to call before they went up the room, and I'd be assuring you ahead of time, this thing's happened, we're both pissed with Sarah, he's going to be sleeping fully clothed in the floor, and I am kicking him out at 7 o'clock, I'll call you then. Or whatever. It's such a dodgy premise that it's a bit baffling that she's being so casual about it. Most people would not be okay with it, full stop, much less finding out about it after the fact. My suspicion is that they had intimate and she is worried rumor will get out, and so she's getting ahead of it. That might be really unfair, but it's why you don't share a room with another fellow while your partner is elsewhere. Particularly if you've been drinking and dancing with him all night. In order to sound non-accusatory, focus on communicating how this is making you feel. For example, when I heard you shared the room with Ryan, it made me feel hurt and scared about losing you. Of course I trust you, but I need to know more information, etc. I know it's tempting to blame and accuse, but you have no proof, although I understand why you're concerned. Good luck. I am with you here. Also, when she was telling Op about her friend's hope to some guy there, she could have done this intentionally to set a frame. That would mean she or they planned it from the beginning. Just assuming now, and there is not enough info for an analysis, but it would be a very good example of how to use framing. Just seen the update, so sorry the conversation went south. To reiterate the obvious, you were right to call her out. The only options are that she cheated, in which case you have the right to know. Or, she behaved naively and disrespectfully in crossing your boundaries. In which case, she should have, at the very least, acknowledged that she understood why you were unhappy and, really, she should have apologized. The fact she tried to flip it back on you does not bode well. It's either a stratagem, defense being the best form of attack, or a lack of empathy and concern. Either way, you were right to call her on it. I do hope that you manage to find peace and resolution through this. What questions could ever be relevant? Got drunk at a wedding and spent the night with another dude. I'm sure they played cards and chatted about the weather. Even if, and it's a huge if, nothing happened, the optics are so insanely inappropriate and bad. I doubt she would be fine with Op sharing the room with another woman after a wedding. I assume you haven't been together long if you've never had the what counts as cheating / going too far conversation. When that's been cleared up and both partners know what would make the other uncomfortable, then y'all will save yourselves a lot of pain and confusion. That being said, it should typically be common knowledge not to share your bed with someone else while in a monogamous relationship. But maybe this just isn't something that would bother her if it were the other way around, so it just didn't click for her that you would be bothered. Story 2. I'm ashamed of how my embarrassment of my son being gay has ruined our relationship. How do I make it clear that I love and support him? It is as the title reads. I have 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters, all of whom are now adults. My younger son, Michael, as a child was always much more sensitive and shy than my older son. He still had the typical interests of a young boy, but he made friends more easily with girls. I had worried about him for various reasons, not wanting him to be bullied as he grew older. When he was struggling in school, among other issues, my wife and I brought him to a child therapist. We learned of some troubling events going on in our family, and because of this I have not spoken to my brother and several family members who defended him in many years. Once this was resolved, Michael began to grow out of being shy, and as a teenager he had quite many friends and even several girlfriends. I figured he was just a sensitive soul, and the ladies loved him for it. He went on to make us proud with a good career in the military, and he would occasionally come visit for holidays with a girlfriend. Now, to the present issue. Michael came out to both my wife and I as gay a few years ago. He told us he had struggled and denied it for a long time within himself, but he had met a man he wants to spend his life with. I told him I am very happy for him to do as he pleases, but that I was concerned he was deeply hurt and looking in the wrong place to right that wrong. He had always seemed so happy with his girlfriends that I would have never predicted this. I am worried he's confused because of what happened to him, and I feel it's my fault for leaving him with this confusion because we didn't know to get him help sooner. He begged me to understand that it's because of what happened that it took him so long to accept himself, not the other way around. I am struggling every day, blaming myself for the hurt he went through and that I didn't see the signs sooner. I feel that I failed him as a father. I should have been able to protect him sooner. Now he's deeply upset that I cannot understand him, but I am trying. I agree he's found a very nice man to live with, and I have no issues there, but I can't help but feel embarrassed how others will see I've done a poor job to protect my son when he was just a little boy. In the past we spoke frequently. Now I can feel he's shut himself off to me. He calls less often. Our conversations are shorter. I want to bridge this gap but I don't know how to understand what he's trying to tell me. Please, I just need advice on what I can say to him so he will understand I love him and I only want for him to be happy. Comment. You are making this about you. Your feelings for a horrible thing your kid went through. He's told you that his has nothing to do with his abuse, and that the abuse is what made it more difficult for him to accept himself. I can imagine your son felt a lot of confusion during his teenage years because his uncle was a molester, reading between the lines, and your son was always gay from the time he was born, but in his mind as a young kid he may have been scared that made him like his uncle. Your son worked through those fears and accepted himself. You should take his word on his own life experience, he's the only expert in that. I'm wondering if you say things that have made him sense your feelings and fear about how others view the situation. I'd sit down and write an apology note that keeps your worries out of it, Let him know you are proud of him and the man he is and happy he's found a great partner. Tell him you know you haven't always handled things well in the past and you apologize for any hurt you've caused, but you hope when your son is ready he will reach out to you and that you can spend time together again. Then leave it and let him come to you. This is really good. Op's guilt because of what happened is hindering Op's acceptance for his son because he wants to protect his son. We all know how many in the world speak on being gay and it is a really scary situation to be in, especially if not in a large, gay-friendly community. So, it is like Op is still trying to protect his son because he feels like he failed him. Thing is, Op and partner noticed something was amiss, they got the kid therapy, found out the issue, believed their kid, and disconnected to the beings that brought harm to their son. They did such a good job at protecting and loving their son, they did all the right things. Op needs to let go of that guilt and just accept the love. Both are adults, I would say having a deep, honest, heartfelt convo about those feelings might be good for y'all. Sounds like there is a lot of love there already. I was wrong. I was projecting my guilt over what happened to you as a child onto this, and have realized that just like I got you help when you were struggling, it's time that I sought out that same help so I can begin to heal. I am not ashamed of or embarrassed by you simply for existing as you are. I understand if you are not ready to give me the chance to try to repair our relationship. I am going to be attending therapy myself so I can begin to process my feelings about the past in a healthier way that doesn't project negatively on you anymore. And then you get your ass in therapy and let him reach out when he decides that he's ready. Op, I am a trauma therapist and I have worked with many straight and gay patients in the past 25 years. Childhood intimate abuse does not change intimate orientation. I am sorry that your son was abused. You can't protect your child from something or someone who intends to hide their abuse of a child. His abuse does not reflect on you. His being gay has nothing to do with the abuse or with your parenting. That is not how intimate orientation works. It is an inborn trait, just like hair or eye color. Nothing you did as a father caused his intimate orientation. If you want to maintain a healthy relationship with your son, it is critical that you seek therapy yourself to address your guilt and to develop an accepting and loving attitude about your son. It is also critical that you stop sharing with your son that you think you have failed him. Under that is the idea that his intimate orientation is a bad outcome, that is a rejecting and judgmental attitude that will be quite obvious to him.